There's a reason why many of us are still learning Alabama history to this day. It's thanks to people like Marie Bankhead Owen, who led the charge in shaping an alternate history for Alabama, organizations like the Daughters of the Confederacy, and Alabama lawmakers for maintaining her goals even after she passed. Active campaigns started in the early 1900s to purge text of any view that was tough but also true of the South. School books were filled with propaganda. Things like slaves were happy and well taken care of, that the Southern rebellion and slavery weren't the actual cause of the Civil War, that the South was full of valor and was simply outmatched by the predators from up north, and that before the war, the South was an economical force of nature. They also blamed Reconstruction efforts as excuses for carpetbaggers and freedmen to pillage the South. Meanwhile, the real travesty was what Alabama Power and the Tennessee Valley Authority was doing with Alabama's natural resources. More specifically, their flooding of post-war towns under man-made lakes, and the distortion of Alabama's natural waterways, geological features, and pre-war history. Even up into the 1980s, these textbooks still contain this material, highlighting false knowledge and even going as far as saying that the KKK was a misunderstood men's organization. In reality, the alleged pillagers of the South, the carpetbaggers and the freedmen, were actually coming to create public schools in Alabama. Public schools required taxes, and the elite did not want to pay those. That included wealthy plantation and farm owners and the industrialists. When Reconstruction ended, taxes going to schools were repealed, and the Alabama Board of Education was disbanded for a good period of time. And in 1901, the Alabama Constitution was created, for the sole purpose of trying to separate the poor whites from the blacks, opening the door for a right to an education, but also doing everything in its power to disenfranchise black people. Race, class, and location define the Alabama public education system. Of course, by design. Public school funding started to favor white schools over black. And even then, from a national standpoint, Alabama's public education system was far behind. Because alternative history and deliberate underfunding sabotaged everybody. Alabama's main goal at the time was to continue to keep poor people and black people in fields, factories, and mines. Black schools and students were feeling this even more because in some places, the state was only giving $5 per student. In 1956, Alabama vehemently rejected the ruling in Brown v. Board of Education. Due to integrated schools being inevitable and the post-Reconstruction fear of black rule, whites started leaving public schools and private schools were created. And legislators in Alabama found any way that they could to funnel public school funds to private schools, thus sandbagging resources in public schools even more. By 1990, a group of rural schools came together and sued the state of Alabama. This was because there were schools without libraries, some places were having to use decades-old outdated textbooks, and some buildings were becoming decrepit and infested with pests. Regardless of the undeniable evidence, nothing was done by the state. So schools were left to teach well below their means, and that includes alternative history that omitted actual history. Even today, school curricula has changed, but not by that much. The sad thing is that subjects like Black history during Black History Month and even omitted Alabama history are still being targeted to this day. And the desire for a revised and shortened history runs rampant throughout the state of Alabama and the South. Efforts that started over 100 years ago. The only difference between now and then are the people, who just happen to be the descendants of those who started this all. We're constantly pressured in Alabama and beyond to take pride in the things that we should be ashamed of and to forget the things that we should be proud of. Alabama's history shouldn't go down smooth. It's a tumultuous one with really great things and really terrible things. And we need to know every single part of it, not just what's palatable. That falls on Alabama towns and Alabama legislators. It's not something that they should be ducking from or hiding from. It's something that they should be responsible in teaching us all.